All right, we are online. Hello, everyone. My name is Erin Armstrong, also known on here as Grishno. I am a point scholar, which is part of why I'm here today, but I'm interviewing the fabulous, the wonderful Mr. Jason Collins. Hey, Jason, how's it going?
It's going very well. Hi, everyone. I'm here in Los Angeles in my home.
Awesome. So, Jason, you and I met last, what was it?
September.
September, and we were speaking together at the Voices on Point fundraiser for the Point Foundation. And for those of you who don't know about the Point Foundation, it is a nonprofit foundation that provides, sorry, I have a delay coming into my ear. So it's a nonprofit organization that provides scholarships for LGBT people to attend college. So I was one of their 2014 scholars, and you were there because you're a big supporter of the Point Foundation. So I'm
Yes.
wondering if you could speak a little bit about why you support the Point Foundation.
Yeah, I first uh, got involved through a friend of a friend, a guy named Vince Garcia, who works for Point Foundation. We met at, I think it was Pride Night at the LA Dodger baseball game. Um, he came to the game with a mutual friend of ours, a guy named Ed who works at my high school, Harvard Westlake, here in Los Angeles. And Vince was telling me about the Point Foundation, and it's just incredible the, the resources and the dreams that the Point Foundation can provide to people who want to continue their education, and to me, education is so important. I went to Stanford University and graduated in 2001, and I can't imagine someone who wants to go to college but just doesn't have that opportunity to, for whatever reason. And the Point Foundation is there to help members of the LGBT community continue to, get further their education and become those future leaders that they are destined to be.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. So what? So you give a lot to the Point Foundation. Like you were there this summer when we had our big leadership conference. You
Yeah,
were
in
here at
Boston.
the
Yeah.
Voices on Point. You know, you've been all over the place. Why is it important to you to give back to the LGBT community in such a way?
Well, well, the LGBT community has been so supportive of me since my announcement, since I publicly came out in the spring of 2013.
Right, and you were the first. And correct me if I'm wrong because it's a big title. You were the first uh, player in any of the four major North American sports leagues to come out as gay. Correct?
Yeah, yes, while active, yes, yeah, and still play. And you know, you sort of, when I made my announcement, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what the reception was going to be, but it was overwhelmingly supportive, and a lot of groups, people reach out to me, expressing their support, and then also asking if there's any way that I can help. And I try to, help as much as I can. There's only so many hours in a day, but when I worked with Point Foundation this past summer, just interacting with the Point scholars and also the alumni, and just seeing everyone that's involved with Point, it was incredible. I really felt, I didn't feel like I was smart enough.
Come on, you went to Stanford. Come on.
But there's so many incredible people doing so much amazing stuff, and also hearing the stories when, because my situation, there are common threads and some coming out stories, but in my situation with my family, I was met with love and support, and I know that's not the case with everyone in the country and around the world. Right? When they do come out to their friends and family, that some people are met with rejection. And it's great that the Point Foundation is there to offer that support to those people that want to, again, continue their education. And I know that there's, an application process, and I was named an honorary member of the Point Board this past winter. And I'm really looking forward to actually very soon looking at applications and reading about people who are, applying to become a Point Scholar. And I know that there's going to be some amazing stories that I'm going to read about, and just wish you can help everyone. But those people who are fortunate enough to make it to be a Point Scholar, again, are going to be future leaders of our society, not just the LGBT community, but I really feel they'll be future leaders of our society.
Oh, you're gonna make me blush. I love what you said, especially around, not all families are going to be supportive and loving when you come out. So, I shared this last year when I was going through the application process for the Point Foundation. But when I came out, I was going to college. I had just turned 20 years old, and I was living in the middle of Utah. I came out, and my parents told me, we don't pay for Erin's school. Basically saying, like, we're gonna cut you off if you do this, if you transition. And what that meant is I wasn't able to keep going to school, so I dropped out. I moved to New York City. And 10 years later, I just turned 30. I'm finally back in school. It took me that long, but the whole reason I'm able to be back is because of the support that I got from the Point Foundation. I wouldn't be able to afford the price of higher education right now without that sort of support.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned applications, which is part of the reason why we're here today. But the application process, as I understand it, is ending on January 20th. So there's like 6 more days to get your application in. Jason, as somebody who is working so closely with this process, what would you say to any LGBT students or scholars out there who are thinking about applying?
Yeah, put your application in. Finish the application. I remember it's sort of like, putting in your application for college.
I'm getting chills
Stanford,
thinking about it.
I'm having flashbacks because Stanford, I was recruited, I was an athlete, obviously, and Stanford was the only college that made, I'm a twin also, and my brother and I, that was the only school that had us fill out an application and really had to go through the application process. And I remember, nervous writing those, filling it out and, telling stories, trying to really put myself down on paper, and feeling nervous about it. But there's something about it that's empowering when you're telling your stories, or you're and trying to just really get the reader to understand where you're coming from and all that you're going through. And so to all those that are out there in the LGBT community that want to further their education, and please put in get your applications into the Point Foundation so that we can look them over and then continue the process.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the most important thing that you can do in applying for the Point Foundation is actually get your application in on time.
Yes.
Like step number 1 is get the application in. And so I remember going through the Point Foundation process last year, because last year around this time, I was busy applying to colleges and applying to foundations to try and get support. And it was like a 6-month process to go through with the Point Foundation, but it was so rewarding. I met so many amazing people along the way. And now that I've made it and I'm part of the Point family, it really does feel like being a part of a family. Like I get together with alumni all the time. I have this mentor that I talk with. Um, so it's really an amazing thing. So I really encourage people who are
Do you,
thinking about going back to school, who are going back to school, um, apply. You gotta apply.
you
Like,
should talk a little bit more about the mentor.
yeah.
How how do you how were you paired with your mentor? How did that happen? How that?
Oh man, it was like a long process. I actually just got mine about a month ago.
Okay.
But what was really cool was I got to sit down with some of the members from the Point Foundation and talk to them about what my long-term career goals are. So, I want to go to school, I want to graduate, I want to become the executive director of a nonprofit, and then hopefully at some point I want to run for public office. So, here's my goals. Let's find somebody who's a match. And so they were able to find um, somebody who works at this organization called the Victory Fund,
Okay.
which is and his name is Jan Williams. um, but the Victory Fund focuses on getting LGBT people into public office. And so it's this match where, I expressed like, here's where I want to go. And it took a long time to find the right person, but it's not about just connecting people, it's about connecting the right people. And so over the break, we've had a chance to, talk a little bit and get acquainted, but he's, really got my back when it comes to, anytime I have a question about a class I should take or how I should approach something, there's sort of an open door policy there. And it's really rewarding to me, and it's I'm really happy to be a part of that mentorship program. Yeah.
That's great.
Um, so anyway, so the big news is apply. And again, the deadline for the application is January 20th. And if you want to apply, you can just visit the Point Foundation. It's www.pointfoundation.org to do that. So Jason, I know that you mentioned a little bit about growing up and your family. For me, growing up, I knew that I wanted to be a girl as early as 4 years old. Like it was something that was very clear to me early on. Did you have the same experience? I mean, not wanting to be a girl, but like, did you know who you were and where you were going that young?
I don't remember that young, but I'm told from my uncle told me a story. I think that I was 6 years old, and he knew that when I was 6 years old that I was gay.
Wow.
Um, but I wasn't aware of that until much older. Junior high school for me was
Mm-hmm.
when I knew that something was different.
Mm-hmm.
Started having feelings, crushes on members of the same sex. So I knew it in junior high school, going through puberty, but I didn't accept it until I was 32, 33 years old. So something that I don't wish on any other person, any other young person.
Yeah.
Yet there are, stories that continue to come out where people, um, really get to that level of acceptance. Hopefully they get to that level of acceptance younger than I was,
Mm-hmm.
and again, hopefully members of their family, those people that truly care about them will accept them and love them
Mm-hmm.
for who they are. But we know that that isn't the case with all people, which is why it's important. And I think that's one of the beauties, really good things about the internet, is that it can form a sense of community, and you
Yeah.
can reach out, and you can. For me, my connection was going to a website called outsports.com.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's a website that covers LGBT sports, the LGBT sports community. So I was reading stories about people in the sports world coming out and getting more and more examples of those people, those individuals who have a public profile.
Right.
It's important for all of us who do have a public profile to come out at least once. Join the chorus. It'd be great if you could, march in the parade, but you don't have to. It's your life. You can do what you want to, but at the same time, you should at least stand and be counted, and because it will help someone else. It will help a young person, give them another, possibility model, and it also help those people who potentially could be straight allies, because it's a way for them to start a conversation. People in the business world were able to have a conversation, start a conversation when they saw the head of Apple, Tim Cook, come out. People who follow sports are able to have a conversation when they see myself come out, or Michael Sam, or Robbie Rogers, or
well, that sort of visibility can go such a long way in sort of bridging gaps.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, I know that for me, when I was growing up, I mentioned I knew I wanted to be a girl when I was 4, but I had no idea what that meant, because I was living in the middle of Utah. Like, there was nobody I could point to and be like, that's the person who I'm like that's me. And it wasn't until I was 20 and I actually met somebody who was trans. And again, I met them online. It's that bridging that divide. But I met somebody who was like me and who had those same experiences, and I said, "Oh my goodness!" And it changed my whole life. So I love your call for being out and coming out, because it does have a real impact on people. It's had an impact on my life. It sounds like it's had an impact on yours as well.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, Martina Navratilova and Billie Jean King have been heroes of mine, and for a long time in the sports world, when it comes to LGBT issues, women have taken the lead, and it's I'm inspired and very thankful and very proud of them. But we also need more male role models as well, and more male professional athletes. And I know they're out there, and I'm in contact with a couple, but everyone has their journey, their path, and again, I keep telling them, and it's true, that there's a world of people who are waiting to support them when they do come out, and just try to encourage them to get to that point, that stage where I got to, where it was, you have the love and support of your friends and family, or the people who mean the most to you in the world, and you still want to do your job. Like, you shouldn't have to sacrifice your private life for your job.
Right. Well, speaking of your job, so you started your basketball career. I guess you've been in the N.B.A. for 13 years now, right?
Yeah, I started in 2001, long time ago.
So, I mean, that's fantastic. So you've been around, and you only came out a couple years ago, right?
Yeah. It took me a long time.
Yeah. So what was that like before you came out?
Gosh, a lot of living in denial. A lot a lot of trying to convince myself that I was straight, which obviously wasn't the case. And yet I don't know, it's, you go through, it's like every, what do you say, the 12 steps, where you have, denial, shame, regret, anger, the whole gamut of emotions and feelings, and ultimately you get to that point of acceptance, and then being proud of, what makes you unique and what makes you different from everyone else, and just like I'm proud of the fact I'm African American, I'm proud of the fact that I'm gay, and it's one issue doesn't define me, one characteristic, but everything that does define me, I celebrate it all, because it's who I am. And if someone has an issue with it, then that's on them. And so those young people out there, again, there are people who are waiting to support you when you do come out.
Was there anything that you could point to that changed once you did come out?
I don't know. Well, yeah, there was something. So yeah, there. The biggest thing I think that, well, I mean, I don't want to say, okay. So one thing that's just flying to, like, you know, they usually when they say when a question is asked and whatever pops in your head first, go with it.
We're going with number 2.
One thing that comes to mind, yeah, the one thing that comes to mind is when I was in the locker room in the past, I would hear language that was inappropriate. I would hear homophobic language from certain individuals. When I did come out and when I was back in the locker room playing for the Brooklyn Nets last year, that all changed. And some people who I heard making comments in the past reached out to me, spoke with me, had conversations with me, conversations of support. And sometimes it just shows you that some people have a lack of awareness with some of the words that they use sometimes. But when it's actually, on the line and on the table and put out there in front of them, like, okay, yeah, I know Jason, and Jason's a cool guy. Jason's used to be a teammate, and they support me and accept me for who I am, and are proud of me for speaking up and for taking that step forward. So it gives people an opportunity to show their true colors. And it might surprise you, it might shock you. Like some of the people who I thought I would have an issue with actually turn out to be some of the people who had the most amazing, heartfelt conversations with me. And again, it's an education process, because sometimes when you're not exposed to something or you have a lack of awareness, you go with what you're taught in the sports world. Being gay is equated with sort of like being the boogeyman or something, and it's like when you step forward into the light, you're dispelling a lot of those negative stereotypes or those misconceptions and prejudices that are out there. Really allowing people to an opportunity to educate themselves and to grow. And again, it all goes back to education. Why education is so important, because you become a better person, a better human being through education.
Yeah. Well, speaking of education, actually, so you mentioned earlier that you started, or that you went to Stanford, and you started. Yes. You played at Stanford. Are there any things that you miss about being in college?
Oh wow. Yeah, college. Well, at Stanford especially, there's a bubble. You sort of like you get to maybe press pause on some things that are going on in the real world. Now, mind you, when I was in school, Twitter didn't exist, Facebook didn't exist. That's how old I am.
Back in the MySpace or Friendster days.
Like we had email, and that was about it. So there's no Snapchat and all that stuff. And it's interesting because I have I don't have children. I hope one day to have children. So I sort of live vicariously through my brother. Again, I have a twin, and he has 3 small children. And you're starting to have those conversations. His oldest daughter is now 6. And trying to see, and trust me, by the time she was 2, she could operate an iPhone. She has the swiping down and everything. So you're, and that's one of the dangers of the internet is really knowing that you have a digital footprint. And I'll say that too to all the applicants and all the just LGBT members out there, or young people out there. Your digital footprint will follow you, and it will be very hard to once you hit send in an email, we see that with the Sony hack or with the Sony hacks, and once you hit send or once you post something, it's stuck with you. And so if you have an opportunity to look at things objectively, would you hit send if you knew that is this something that you would want years down the road for your children, for your grandchildren to see? So before you do the keg stand and or do something where you're gonna go and put yourself in a situation, and it's tough to tell a young person that because sometimes you're young and you think you know everything, and I was there, and maybe to a certain extent I'm still there, but because we're all still learning. But just be aware of your digital footprint. Be aware when cameras are on in this day and age. Everyone has a smartphone, just about.
Yeah. Well, speaking a little bit about that, about these sort of new technologies and social media, how things can go viral so quickly. Recently, there was a young trans woman named Leela Acorn, and she committed suicide, and she posted her suicide note onto her Tumblr page.
Yeah.
And it was this moving and just tragic letter about family rejection and feeling like she had no space to go, no space to grow.
Well, I'd really like to hear your thoughts on that first, because you, as a trans woman, I'm sure relate to it more than most people can.
Yeah.
And like
her
where were you?
Story.
Yeah, where were you when you were?
So to me, this isn't new. Like I see this happen all the time. I've been in the trans community for 10 years, and this is not the first trans woman that we've lost. Like, statistics are that 40% of trans women have attempted suicide at one point in their life. Like, this is an epidemic. And so much of it has to go back to family acceptance, societal acceptance. And so, like I mentioned, like, my family, when I came out, completely rejected me. I was told that I should move out of the state to avoid embarrassing the family. Like that, when you're 20, like that hits you. That's hard. And so reading her story was like reading my own story. And that was, so it was hard to sort of see that and see those similarities. But at the same time, like, this went big, this went viral. Everyone everywhere was talking about this.
Yeah.
So like, we got to take this moment and talk about why this is happening. Why is it that 40% of trans people have attempted suicide at some point in their life? Like, what's going on? And there's so many big societal issues. So like, my big thing that I always want to tell the youth is like, look, it gets better. I know there's the like It Gets Better project, but like you can literally go back 7 years and look at my like first video where I was, and then you can see it get better. Like, it happens. It just takes time. And I know it sucks right now, but like, you got to think about the future, because it's going to get better and you're going to miss out.
Yeah.
So I mean, but this isn't just a trans issue. This is, so many LGBT people are going through these, like you mentioned, like you knew early on in your life that you were being attracted to the same gender and all these things were going on, but you repress it and you go through those 12 stages of denial. And youth are going through this right now as we speak. Like, I think that there's a universal message that can be sent to LGBT youth out there. So, Jason, I'd love to know, like, if you could send a message to these youth, what would you say? What would you tell them?
Along the same lines of what you just said, it's interesting that you brought up It Gets Better, because the whole reason why I started on my path to coming out was actually because I saw he's now a really good friend of mine. My trainer did It Gets Better, and in his It Gets Better, I remember watching it in the fall of 2011, and his words really spoke to me about living in a conservative family, religion, and also having a semi, sports athletic background, and it just because he did that, It Gets Better. It gave me the strength, and I felt safe enough. And he was the first person that I ever came out to. And I remember saying to him, I wonder if I would ever be so brave as to put myself out there. And when I did, come out and Sports Illustrated and this and that, he was, we had a good laugh and a good joke about that. About, here you are, sort of literally leading the parade in the Boston parade, Boston Pride parade, in 2013, marching in the parade. But and like you said, like to see my growth from 2011 to where I am now, and just like you grow, and it led me to actually work with the It Gets Better people, and Dan Bukatinsky and Lisa Kudrow put together a project called It Got Better, and they got who was Jane Lynch and Tegan and Sarah, and I remember Laverne Cox's. Laverne Cox was also part of it. And yes, she's amazing, fierce. We could talk about Laverne Cox for hours. I love her. She's amazing. The only thing is, I don't know. Anyways, I was gonna say you don't want to speak after her. I did an event in Chicago, and I had to speak after her, and I was still in awe. Like when it was like one of those things where like she got done talking, and like she might as well have done like a mic drop, and then I was the one who had to go pick up the mic and then start talking afterwards. And I was like, that was amazing. But anyways, in Laverne's It Got Better, she talked about a suicide attempt that she did, and I mean, all of them are powerful. I recommend everyone check them out online. But again, after hearing my story, her story, and everyone else's story, and all those other people who do it, it really does. It's going to take time, and they're going to be rough patches. But again, just like with how you were saying, if I looking back, like the growth about again the human growth that we go through in that path, your life will get better. And I know it's sometimes hard to see that because you're living in the moment, and you're not thinking sort of years later down the road. But just you keep putting one foot in front of the other. Keep trying to form those circles of friendship, those circles of support. Again, utilizing social media, or utilizing internet, or connections that you could make, because sometimes those those circles are might not be in your hometown, they might not be in your home, they might not be in your household, but they are there, they do exist. And again, Point is one of those great ones out there that's waiting and is there. And,
well, thank you, Jason, for sharing that. So at this point, I mean, we've gone a little bit over time.
Okay, sorry. I took it on. I'm sorry.
No, I've enjoyed talking to you so much today. So thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me. and for answering all my questions and being so open and candid. I really appreciate it. Again, for anyone who is thinking about applying to the Point Foundation, the deadline for applications to be in is January 20th. It is coming up. So please apply. And hopefully we'll see you this summer when all the Point Scholars get together. Maybe Jason will be there. Who knows? Maybe we'll see
I
you
hope
again.
so.
So anyway, thank you everyone for tuning in. Again, my name is Erin Armstrong, also known as Grishno, and this has been my interview with Jason Collins. See you later.